Good morning, everybody. We want to welcome you to day 2 of the 2021 Socal NOMA Architectural Summer Camp. We hope you're ready. Are we ready? Are we ready? So we want to welcome you campers back to day 2. We hope that you had a wonderful week and that you did your designer's assignments. We want to do a little recap on day 1. Everybody who was here, you learned all about what is architecture, because that's what this camp is all about. And we went on a designer's journey. So everyone is on a designer's journey this year, and we are all journeying through our Jedi focuses and designing museums. So we want to get excited for the day 2, because last week we designed our museums, and now these museums need to be populated with exhibitions. So today each camper is going to design their exhibition, and you're also going to learn about lighting. So after designing your avatar and learning about your spaceship for inspiration, we think that you're all ready to become junior designers. So we want to get everyone all heated up and ready to go for today. So we have a wonderful icebreaker set up for you. We're going to be joined by our assistant directors, Wei Dan Wang and Khan Mohammed, who are going to take you through a sketching exercise, because sketching is extremely important to becoming junior designers. Wei Dan, Khan.
Good morning, designers. My name is Khan Mohammed. I'm the assistant director of the summer camp. I'm joined by my fellow assistant director.
Hi, I'm Wei Dan. Welcome to day 2, everyone.
And so we're going to be using this, the tool of an architect, to understand how to look at something, take the shapes from it, and reflect it on the other side. Now, the good thing about this assignment is that you don't have to be good at drawing. All you got to be good at is looking at something, observing something, and seeing if you could pull out the shapes, the primitive shapes, like a rectangle, triangle, or circle, out of an image.
And sketching takes practice, so the more you do it, the better you will be at it. So if you're going to want to take your camper bags and pull out your day 2 packets, your sketching symmetry packet, and pull out this sketching template.
And so there are 7 templates. Of course, each of you have a different zone. And so, for instance, my zone is zone 1, and I have the Smithsonian Museum.
I'm working with zone 5, Design Museum of London.
Some of you might be in zone 2, 3, 4. It's all good. We're all going to have a different image, and we're going to actually show you, Wei Dan and I, how to start drawing this activity.
And these are images of museums that you might have seen in your precedent study assignment from day 1. So the objectives for this assignment is we're going to learn a little bit about how symmetry is used in design. So architects use symmetry to convey order and balance. So as you're designing your museums and exhibition spaces, you want to think about the composition of your building and how you want to
pull the shapes and understand the relationships of the shapes, right? So for instance, let's get started. I'm looking at this right here, and the first thing I see obviously is like a big rectangle right here, right? And so another shape you might have seen is like a triangle that goes right here. You could see a little trapezoid right here for the stairs, or some of you might have seen this large rectangle that goes here and goes straight across, right? And so I'm going to start off by drawing some lines, straight lines that I see in the architecture, right? You could use your fingers to gauge how far these things should be. So I'm going to line up there. And it's okay if the lines are a little crooked, because then you could always go back. and make it straight. All right. And so as you're doing that, that's going to be a great start for you to start understanding the shapes. I see this rectangle right here, and so I'm going to draw just a little placeholder for now as a rectangle. I see this right here. I see this plinth. That's called a plinth in architecture. You start drawing that as well as this big line right here. Let's see where Wei Dan's starting.
So I'm also working with the bigger shapes first, and as you begin to draw these shapes, you should think about what these shapes correlate to. So these ones here are the roof of my structure, and then this big one here is the facade of my building.
And so you're going to be pulling all these shapes out of your project, and it's going to be very general and very big first, and then once we get into the details, we could start drawing like all the bricks and all the crowns of windows and all those details. And so these are only just 2 museums that you just saw right here. We're going to go through and walk us through all the different sketches that some of our mentors are doing. And so I hope you've gotten started, and so you could follow us along on this assignment.
So, while Con and Wei Dan are going to continue their sketching, we're going to see some of your mentors. We have a mentor from each one of your zones here at base camp, and they are also doing your sketching assignment. So let's go see what they're doing. So we have here Justin is zone 5, and he's doing an excellent job with the Museum of London. So all the campers in his zone are also doing this sketching exercise at home, and he's preparing his final to share with all of you. Let's go see what zone 6 is doing. So zone 6 is doing the Richmond Olympic Experience, and it's a wonderful barrel vaulted interior space, and your mentor, Cedra, is doing her design. We also have some campers here at base camp who are helping us make sure that these exercises are all in line for the campers. And so they are also doing the sketching exercise. So we have Gabby, who is from zone 3, and Imani, also from zone 3. And they are doing the sketches for the National Museum of African American History and Culture and the Rangrot Museum. One of the things that we always want to stress about architecture is that we are always learning. And we have some licensed architects here with us who are also doing the sketching exercise. Sketching is very important to architecture, and we continue to sketch even throughout our architectural careers. Now, the wonderful thing about this exercise is that it is a symmetrical sketching exercise. So we wanted to make sure that you had a starting point in doing this experience and that your first introduction to sketching would be pleasant. So what we did is we gave you half of the building, and all of these buildings in each zone is completely symmetrical. So you are just drawing half of the building. So we will go back to see how Wei Dan and Connor are doing. Wei Dan?
I have mapped out my big shapes already. I'm working on the details of my roof.
So I'm marking out the guidelines that are going to help me start to work on the details. And I'm starting to go in and understand that this rectangle that I first saw is actually not like, there's this path that's right here, right? It comes in and then it goes straight down. And so I'm going to reflect that in this case. I'm going to go straight up to that line I created and then go out at an angle to create that shape. And a good mentor of mine told me when you're sketching, it's okay to have like lines a little all over the place, because what you could do to make it more refined and detailed is you go over that same line with a heavier weight, and so that brings the image out. This allows you to be more free with your strokes, not be so stressed out to do the perfect line the first time, and that's okay. There's a lot of techniques to learn how to sketch, but every architect's sketch is different, and so don't feel like you have to do exactly how I'm drawing. If you have a unique way, that's perfect. Use it your way. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit just about the Smithsonian Museum. And so this is actually in our nation's capital at the mall in Washington. And so it's a pretty famous museum. It's been in like a lot of movies. It was actually designed in like 1910, if you can imagine that far along. It's really old. The architect style of this is neoclassical. You could tell that by all the details that you see like in the columns and the windows. It's very, very detailed, and it's a beautiful, beautiful style of architecture. And so they have museums related to like, or currently related to like African voices. They have a bone hall. They have like human origins, because as you could tell, the Museum of Natural History, it's looking at nature, humans, and evolution. And so it's a really good exhibit or museum to go into. Also because it's free too. And it's a really big museum. And if you haven't gotten the chance to visit to Washington, you could do some research and find some virtual exhibits and see if you could be a part of that.
And there's so many other buildings at the same National Mall. So if you get a chance to visit Washington, D.C., you should definitely go. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my museum. This one is actually fairly new. It was built in 2016, and it was actually an old building that was restored with a new addition. And the architects are OMA and Jan Paulsen. So the roof here is called a hyperbolic paraboloid. And if you don't know what that is, it's like Pringles. So if you think about the arch of the Pringle, that's exactly what this roof shape is. So in this museum, there is an auditorium on the lower floor. You can't really see in this image. And they host their permanent exhibitions on the top floor, in addition to a makerspace and an educational center. And on the ground floor and the second level, it hosts the temporary exhibitions. And also on the top floor, there is a restaurant with a pretty nice view. And if you see right here, these are actually skylights that bring natural lighting into the building. And when you're inside, there's a large atrium that welcomes you. And then you can see all the interiors, which are cladded with marble and oak. So an exhibition they currently have is a sneakers exhibition. So as you're designing your museums, you can think about what types of exhibition spaces you want in your museum.
Wow, these sketches are really starting to shape up. Let's see. Okay. He has his columns in, and now he's drawing his stairs. This is impressive. And he's a lefty, guys and gals. So we have Wei Dan measuring out her symmetry. That was the whole point of this exercise. Every museum is completely symmetrical. So you can definitely map out the second half of your museum. Looking great. So as you can see here at Base Camp, we're all actively doing our symmetrical sketching. You can see the mentors from every zone. They are doing their sketches. And so we're going to have all of the sketches on the table in a few minutes to share with you guys. Thank you. Okay, let me see this. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We hope that your sketches have been coming along. We have all of our sketches here from our mentors in the base camp. So we wanted to show you what they have been doing. We hope that yours at home are looking just as grand. Okay, so Wade, Dan, and Con are going to finish their sketches, and we are going to prepare for the next part of day 2. We hope that everyone is all warmed up and you guys are all set and ready to go. And we want to just recap from last week. You started your designer's journey, created your avatar, worked on your museum as a group, as a zone, so you have your museum design. And now it's time to design those individual exhibitions in your museum. Each of your museums has a overarching theme and a Jedi focus, either justice, equity, diversity, or inclusion. And so we spent extensive amount of time last week understanding what our Jedi focus was and how we can incorporate it into our museums. So we hope that you are ready with your precedent study to go over for homework what each of these Jedi focuses meant to you and your design. We also want to introduce you, before you start your exhibition design, to lighting. So this morning, we are going to have a lighting expert come to share with us all the aspects of lighting, from natural light to artificial light to lighting direction to the flow of light, how light affects our lives in our everyday lives, how we use it, and how we specifically can use it in our exhibition design. We as architects have a lot of people helping us design buildings, and one of those people is a lighting expert. And so they help us this
year. I am a lighting designer for my own company called Chromatic, and today I'm going to really talk to you about what it is that I do and really what lighting is and what lighting design is. So are you ready to get started? Okay, let's go. So basically what light is radiant energy, and that means a lot of big things, but right now what we're going to talk about for camp today is that light is just something that makes things visible. It's what allows us to see. So if you look at the pictures on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see our most important source of light, which is the sun. You have it coming up in the morning where the color of the light looks a certain way, where you feel a certain way when you see it. The middle picture is the evening sun, the sunset, how the light changes there, and how that makes you feel as you get ready to go into night. And then you have the evening presentation at the bottom of your screen where you have a combination of both moonlight, atmospheric light, and artificial light there. So really, lighting design is all encompassing, both inside, outside, and everywhere in our lives. I know when you think lighting, you're probably thinking of like the table lamp in your room or the lights in your house or the lights above your bathroom mirror. But lighting and lighting design means so much more than that. If you look at the picture on the left, it's how we see the texture on the brick. If you look at the picture on the right, it's what draws your eye further into the building. If you look at this amazing bridge and underpass, you're looking at all the different colors coming together to talk about form and shape. If you look at this picture, which is LAX, which was also designed by a local lighting designer, you can see these amazing shape and forms providing real important usable light for traffic, but also for passengers on the airplanes. And if you look in this retail store, it's what helps us figure out which shoe we want to purchase, or the right color, or the right shape, and making sure that blouse looks the way you want it to. So really it's a combination of how we use the sun in combination with architecture really early in the process to make buildings and exterior spaces look as best as they can. And then at night, how the electric lighting highlights different points of that same architecture. So more importantly than the sun is our eyeball, because you can't really experience light unless you have vision or sight. And little tidbit, even if you are blind, you still have receptors in your eyes that receive information from the sun. So even if you can't see, light is still really important to you. So if you close your eyes for a second and you touch the part of your eye here, don't push, just touch, and you move your eye around, you'll be able to feel a raised part of your eye. Oh, like that. So what you're feeling is your cornea. That's the raised part of your eye that is where light first enters your eyeball. And after that, it goes through a whole bunch of other different parts of your eye. And all of those are what allows you to see. So your pupil expands, light comes in, and the back of your eyeball is like a big projection screen. And that's where the image gets transferred into your brain. So beyond that, your eye and your brain are looking for all different parts of light. Because as light comes from the sun, it actually is made up of all the different colors of the rainbow. So if you look at the top of your picture, you'll be able to see white light going through a prism, and the prism is actually bending the light out so you can see the full rainbow. And the glasses you guys have, these special blue light glasses, what it's doing is actually preventing a part of that blue spectrum where the light is bent. You can see the blue spectrum. It's preventing the blue part coming into your eyes. And what that does is it actually stops your body from thinking it's morning. So when you go to bed and you're on your phone and you don't have these on and you don't have warm shift or night shift or whatever it's called, your brain is like, oh man, I got things to do. I can't go to sleep. I got to work. Well, these will help you not have that, and they'll help you go to sleep better at night. So it's important to remember that all the light that we see around us is really made up of the rainbow, and we just see different parts of that rainbow expressed at different times. So when you look at the color of light in your house or in your classroom, it actually goes from a really cool part of the spectrum to a really warm part of the spectrum. But it's all considered white, because if you're in the space long enough, you can't really tell that it's cool or white. Your eye does this really cool thing called white balance, where it automatically just makes it what it should be. So if we talk about not just the fun part of vision and how light comes into your eye and the spectrum of it, the other qualities that are really important is how light creates shape and form, its intensity, which is like how strong it is, its color, which we kind of talked about already, and the direction that it's shining. So if we look at some, I don't know, recognizable shapes from Star Wars, the Death Star on the left side of your screen, you can see that cool spherical shape because of some distant star in that galaxy, right? The sunlight is coming there and lighting it up. That's how you can tell it's round. That's how you can tell there's that divot in the center. And the same thing with the Santiago Calatrava building on the right. You can tell there's this big arching form because of the shadow underneath it and the sunlight that's hitting the edge of it. So light helps give all shape and form through contrast, where light is versus where light isn't. Sometimes light can actually be the shape and the form. So in the picture on the left, you have light fixtures that are creating these cool bands and ribbons of light everywhere in the space. And then in the space on the right, what it's actually doing, which is the more familiar light source that we have around us, is just creating a shape of light in the space. So it's giving the rectangle of your room or the square of your room dimension and shape. Now, if we look at intensity, which is how strong the light is in any given place, on the left-hand side, there's a lot of intensity behind the screens. And on the right, you see a lot of intensity of light being shot really far away to light this memorial. So two totally different scenarios where intensity is still really important. And then on the left-hand side, this is a retail store where you have a lot of concentrated intensity, meaning it's bright in really specific areas. And then on the right-hand side, you have a lot of intensity spread out over a whole wide area. So both are two retail stores, but how you apply the lighting totally makes all the difference. And then color. Color is probably the most fun, interesting way we can design with lighting. You can tell a story with color. Like, you know, when you see that red lightsaber, that's someone from the dark side, right? Luke never has a red lightsaber. When you look on the right-hand side of your screen, there's no way you think something great is coming towards you with that silhouette and the red light, right? So as we look at lighting and architecture, we can see how it gets used to create excitement and interest, which is on the left-hand side, you see the water cube from the Beijing Olympics, and then on the right-hand side, you may get on a Virgin airplane and feel like you're in something really special because it's blue instead of just white. Finally, for the qualities of light, direction is really important. That means which way the light is coming towards you. For example, when you are using your camera on your laptop, if you don't have enough light coming this way, your face is dark. If the light behind you is really bright, your face is dark. If you have light coming this way, then this side of your face is dark. If you have light coming this way, this side of your face is also dark. So direction is really important, and it does the same thing in architecture. For example, on the right-hand side, you can see how the light is coming down, and on the left-hand bottom picture, you can see how the lights are actually pointing up, and it changes the way the building feels. Now, if we go back to Star Wars, we can take a look at Ahsoka Tano and Yoda, and we can see that the direction of the light that's lighting their faces is actually different. So Ahsoka Tano has much warmer light on her, which actually complements the warmth in her skin, and it's actually coming at an angle so you can see a lot of definition on this side of her face, but the other side is dark. Yoda, on the other hand, who is green, has much cooler light on his face, and his light is coming straight down. So if you look at here, you can't see his chin, you can't see this little in between his eye part, you can't really see inside of his ears, not that we want to, and you lose a lot of definition here. So direction really matters, but in all of these pictures, it's a combination of all of those qualities. It's the color of the light, it's giving the shape and form to those people's, characters' faces, it's the direction, and it's also the intensity. So if you look in your supply bag, you will see your gel swatch book. Can you get me the light fixture on? Thanks. So you will see in your swatch book, this allows you to essentially isolate singular colors from the wavelengths of light and then figure out how you want to apply them to your museum. That's okay, I just need the shape because it fell apart. This is your light fixture from the bag. So you should be able to attach it to the battery and then have the light come out. So if you were to try and recreate that image with Ahsoka Tano or Yoda, you could take this and look at your camera and actually have it pointed down like Yoda, or hold it out at an angle and try and light your face like Ahsoka Tano. And if you have an extra hand, like 3 hands, you can hold the gel book in front of it too and try and change the color of the light on your face. This is really just so you can understand how light changes how you look. So what's coming up on the screen right now was a video of shape. We can post that later someplace for you to be able to watch it. We don't have enough time for you right now, but that's the maximum experience of it. But in summary, I just want to make sure that you understand the qualities of light are shape, intensity, color, and direction. And how we use those is really how we function in light as lighting designers, is how we apply those in spaces. So if you look at the statue of the protesters at the Berlin Olympics, you can see that the light coming down from the top is really highlighting their head and their shoulders. And in this case, it's really not about who these people are individually, but what they're doing. And the light is helping to tell that story. If you flip the light to the other side and you have it coming from the ground up, you can see the underside of the Triceratops, you can see the bone definitions, and you can also see that there's a color change in the light too. Now, if we go from qualities of light to function, the main thing that light is really here for us is to make sure we can see. So visibility. The other thing that light does is it helps us create mood. So if we were going out to dinner, we don't necessarily want to feel like we're shopping at Target, right? If we're going to Target, we don't want to feel like we're going to a nightclub. It's all about making sure that the application, meaning where we're going and what we're doing, matches the quality of light and that the light supports it. And once you start having visibility taken care of and the mood taken care of, you can start to push the boundaries. Do you want to create a space that looks very realistic, or do you want to create a space that feels hyper-real or surreal? And then after that, you start creating a composition. What is it that you want people to experience in any given moment? So in this particular building, this Calatrava building has this huge wing structure formation, and when you see it during the day, it looks one way, right? Because remember, light is giving us shape and form, but at night, if you push the light up in a different direction, we're getting a different shape and we're getting a different form. So the visibility of the building has actually changed from our perspective and then also from the direction of the light. If you look at a museum exhibit, you can actually see where shape and form of light is being projected onto the floor as patterns. You can also see how there's been a use of color, and you can also see where the visibility is declined and where it's really bright. So this is a combination of all the qualities of light that help make an exhibit successful. And really, we're trying to figure out, like, what's the most important thing for you to be able to see in your exhibit? Is it the dinosaur bones? Is it the things on the walls? Is it the cool shadows that are on the floor? It's up to you as the designer to make those choices. We want people, when they come to your exhibit, to feel the kind of mood that you're trying to create. So in this one, it feels very bright and happy and interesting because there's a lot of light, and we're really trying to make sure that people can see everywhere. And how does it make you feel when you go in there? Do you feel intrigued? Do you feel curious? Do you want to spend time there? Is it too dark for you to go in there and you're like, no thanks? So all of those things go into place when you are designing your exhibit. But the more darkness and contrast you have, the more drama it creates, which of course makes it more visually interesting. So it's important to remember that as you are creating these spaces, you are trying to achieve multiple things in one time. So this is an example of a realistic lighting design. The bison looks like a real bison. The sky looks blue, which is how we experience the sky. The leaves look like leaves. The plants look like plants. But if you take that and you push it and you have something that sort of represents real life, you have something that's surrealistic. Meaning, I understand that that's a tree, but I've never seen a tree that looks like that in real life. So we've made the connection between what's real and what we could either dream up to be real. Sorry. In real life, for architecture, you can do a combination of things as well. So this is a mosque, and you can see it has very realistic lighting from most of the aspects of it. But if you look from the top, you can see a beautiful use of blue light on the building, which is pushing it more into the surrealistic viewpoint or category. And it's a really lovely combination of both. And finally, if you look at composition, this means when you have someone in a space, what do we want them to see? Do we want them to see one singular focus, or do we want them to see a lot of things all together that are harmonious and balanced? Meaning the eye is drawn to one particular place or a lot of different places. And that's what an exhibit really is. There's important moments and then lots of important moments. And it's up to you to decide how people experience that exhibit. So if you take all of those and you apply color and direction and shape and form, you can really create something special. And this one has actually a lot of use of color, really more than anything else. So again, how you use color is really important. So again, visibility, creating mood, a surrealistic or realistic environment, or having a singular focus, or a general composition is really what we're trying to achieve in. So if we take that and we look at some more museums, you can see that this looks not like anything else that we've done. Like Leitra said earlier, it's entirely symmetrical, except for the one door in the back, but the intensity and the composition are all spread out. There's not one singular place that we're looking that's more important than the art. If we look at another museum, it takes it and flips that on its head and everything is dark. And we really have focus on just the material that's being displayed. Now, this is an ivory museum, so it's a little bit more of a solemn space. It's meant to be much more reflective, personally reflective. And so when you look at these items, it's really important that we focus on just those. And then if you look at a different use of color that's really highlighting the architecture, now this is the entrance to a museum, because the story doesn't begin once you get to the exhibit. The story begins as people walk into the space. So architecture really starts before you even get in there. So it's important to make sure that everything that you're doing follows that same story. And finally, this is a combination of really everything. This is a museum of gold, found gold. And they've taken all of the items and condensed them into these little tight, brightly lit boxes. So the gold actually looks suspended in the box. So this composition is purely meant for you to only look at the gold itself. Now, this one will be here and opening up in the next few years. This is an image from the Lucas Narrative Museum of Art that's actually also being designed locally. And of course, if you look at this, the lighting is also telling the story that nothing else in this room matters but the exhibit itself. Each one of these statues or display items is what you are supposed to look at and nothing else. And this is from the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. And you can tell here that the composition is very different, right? There's a lot of different things for us to look at. People are also lit from light bouncing off of things. So this isn't about the same selective focus as the Gold Museum. This is something much more wide and far-reaching. So with all that information, what is it that I do and what is it that you're going to do? So what I do is I meet with architects, I meet with interior designers, and I look for ways that we can combine our forces to tell a really good story. What is the story of the project and how can we coordinate with the design team to have the most impact? And we go from that to picking light fixtures or luminaires that can achieve that look. And then we go to the job site to make sure that they get put in the right place and they do all the things they're supposed to. So here's an example of a study that I would do if we were asked to work on a project. So this is a corridor, and if you start applying singular layers of light, meaning one light fixture in a place, you can start to see how the shape of the hallway changes. So these lights are mounted on the ceiling and pointing down, and you can see everything in the space. But if you change the light and you move it over to the side, you can see how you have more shadows. It's more dramatic. Visibility goes down. The people coming off of the elevator don't get any light. It might be harder for them to see when they're coming out. If you change the light and you put it into a downlight, which creates like a cone of light, like a flashlight, you take a flashlight and you point it straight down, it creates these little puddles of light on the floor. People would walk in and out of those. That's the epitome of drama, right? You're walking in light, you're walking out of light, you're walking in light, and then you're in the darkness. That may not be appropriate for every occasion or application. So if you then take that information and you extrapolate it out to a real life place, not just a corridor and not just a rendering, you can see how all of the different layers and light fixtures come together to create one cohesive space. There's light coming down, there's light in the water, there's light on the walls, and all of these things function to help create visibility, mood, they give shape and form, and they also create a realistic environment. So what you need to do is really think about your exhibits now that you're going to exhibit design, and think about where do you want people to look? What's the most important thing in your exhibit? How do you want them to feel when they walk in there? Should they feel excited? Should they feel curious? Should they feel like they want to be educated? All of those things happen when they walk into the exhibit, and your lighting will help guide the way. It's wayfinding for them. So that's a lot of information. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat to your mentors and they will ask them to me and I can answer them now. Or not. So really quickly, while we're waiting, I just want to make sure you guys know how to use your light. So this is in your bag. Uh-oh, it just fell apart. There are wires here that you're going to connect. Red goes with red. And then these are called wire nuts. You will connect the wire nuts together with the red and red, and you put it on and it screws on. There's a video of me doing this, so you can see it even if you can't do it right now or you don't have your light fixture available. Once you have this together, you'll snap on this part to the battery and this light fixture will turn on. Now this is a real light fixture that might get used in a jewelry case or to light something really, really small. There we go. I see some of the mentors have, well, a couple of them have them on. And so what this is putting out is a really, really tiny, small cone of light. Now, and this is meant for life our size. In your model, it's going to be really big, right? Because the scale is what we're looking at proportional to what you're building, right? A person in your model is like this big. No light fixture, as far as I know, is this big in relation to a person, except maybe the sun. So you're doing an approximation by lighting your model, right? You're just trying to figure out how the shape changes. So I hope you enjoy it. This was a lovely donation from a company called Gantom. If you want to look on the internet, they have lots of other cool small light fixtures like this.
Thanks,
All right. Talking about lighting. All right, so I hope you all had a really interesting time. I had a lot of fun. The whole presentations was great. Drawing this for you was great. I hope that you guys get a chance to finish your drawings if you didn't get a chance, or if you came in late. The important things to pull away from this is understanding how to pull shapes out of complex geometry. Like you see, just triangles and rectangles, and you could basically draw anything you want with those shapes. And so right now we're going to take a break from base camp, and you're going to go straight to your classrooms and go over homework review. All right. And so right now your mentors are waiting eagerly to show and learn what you've been able to hear today and see your drawings in the classroom. All right. And so we're going to break and go to our Google Class, our Zoom links. And so we hope to see you there. All right. We have a lot of exciting things planned for you today. I hope you guys stay involved and have a great time. Awesome.
Okay, so for the, I'm pretty sure I can plug in an external mic.
No, that one was.
You know what? I have to run to Santa Barbara. Is there any way you could just jot down your phone number and I could chat with you another time about it?
Here, take it off.